So we have seen so many wireless mice come out this year, but the most hyped up release from this year is this, the Endgame Gear OP1 8K, and yes, this is a wired mouse in 2024. The quality on this mouse is top notch, and when you are comparing it to something like a Zowie mouse, you really won't be able to tell them apart when it comes to the quality of the shell. No flexing or creaking is present anywhere on this mouse, even if you really try to push on the sides of the mouse. The stock cable that comes pre-installed on the mouse is one of the best cables I have seen on a 8000Hz mouse. When compared to another highly popular 8000Hz mouse, the DefAdder V3 wired, the thicknesses of the cables are pretty much the same, but the cable in the OP1 8K just feels less stiff and feels more like a traditional lighter weight cable, which does result in you not feeling the cable as much in game. All the clicks on this mouse are perfect in my opinion. Don't think I've ever felt clicks this nice on a mouse before. Had no real issues with the scroll wheel as well. Each step is very nicely defined and the middle click is not too light or too heavy, it's just right in that sweet spot. The stock skates are just fine. They are dyed PTFE and not virgin PTFE like we have seen included with other mice that have come out recently. Most of my time was spent using the OP1 8K with the wall hack glass pad and never really had any significant issues. For most people, I don't see the need to change the skates of this mouse as they just get the job done. The coating on this mouse I have been enjoying quite a ton. It's almost one-to-one with the coating found on the new Pulsar mice. It's not going to be as grippy as the coatings found on the Zowie or Vaxi mice, but it does get the job done. Really don't see the need for third-party grip tape for this mouse. If you are someone that does get bothered by fingerprints or grime on their mice, then the white version of this mouse is probably better for you when compared to the black version. The main selling point for this mouse is the high performance that it offers right out of the box. The mouse goes all the way up to 8000Hz when we are talking about the polling rate, and when compared to the 8000Hz found on other mice, it's probably the cleanest and smoothest implementation I have ever felt on a mouse. With certain mice and certain games, using 8000Hz on my system was pretty much impossible, as I would experience stutters and other inconsistencies, but with the OP1 8K I can run it at 8000Hz at all times and it felt really smooth in game. If you are someone that is running a lower end system and mostly buying this mouse for the 8000Hz feature, I would look at the OP1 Wii, which goes up to 1000Hz but still keeps the great shape of the OP1 8K, or you can just lower the polling rate in the software. In terms of the performance of the clicks, it is top notch as well. The OP1 8K is using a custom switch called the KLGX that was developed by Endgame Gear. Compared to a normal mechanical switch, these switches register clicks a bit differently. On a traditional switch, you would have to bottom out the whole switch for it to send an input to your computer. With the KLGX switches, the millisecond you press down on the switch, it's already actuated. In the software, you can fine-tune this to your liking as well if you want it to actuate sooner or later. Endgame Gear do sell different packs of switches for the OP1 8K, but honestly, I would just keep the stock switches in this mouse because like I said before, these are probably one of the nicest switches I have ever felt in a mouse. The shape of this mouse, just like the rest of the mouse, is absolutely perfect. Like the rest of Endgame Gear's lineup, the mouse is very claw grip focused, so you'll find very narrow sides and a taller hump. I have 16.5 by 9cm hands and was mostly using a claw grip and on some days a fingertip grip with this mouse, and the mouse excels very well at accommodating those two grip styles. When compared to the X2H ES, another claw grip focused mouse, the OP1 8K doesn't fill up as much as my palm when compared to the X2H, but the overall flatter sides on the OP1 make it way more versatile as you have more room to put your fingers where they want. Unlike on the X2H where the sides of the mouse taper in at really only one point, making it feel more restrictive depending on your finger length. Overall, I highly recommend the shape of the OP1 to people with small to medium hands that want a mouse they can easily fingertip or claw grip and doesn't feel as restrictive as other claw grip focused mice. The software for the OP1 8K is pretty much perfect in my opinion. It may not be the most visually pleasing looking piece of software we have seen, but it still contains everything you need without all the visual garbage we are seeing from other brands. It's just straight to the point and simple to use. On the main page you have all of the basic settings, such as setting the lift-off distance and turning on angle snapping and ripple control. You also have the option to set up 4 different DPI profiles and also setting different X and Y DPI values. So if you want a faster or slower Y axis, for example, you have the option to do so. On the second page, you are going to find all of the more important settings, such as toggling motion sync and the slam click filter. On this page as well, you have all the filters for the mouse buttons, so you can make them more responsive, but then you might run into some issues with double clicking and other inconsistencies. I have been running this mouse with the GX speed mode on, just to get the most out of the switches and have not run into any issues at all with that. On the last page of the software, you have the ability to turn on left-handed mode, which pretty much swaps the functions of the left and right triggers. And then lastly, you can change the functions of the buttons, such as setting the side buttons to act as forward and back for your media. If you are looking for a top performing mouse that is under $100 and don't mind the cable, then the OP1 8K might just be the mouse for you. Everything about this mouse is perfect. Quality is top notch and is very comparable to the quality found on Zowie mice. Everything about the performance is top notch as well. The 8000Hz polling rate felt really smooth and felt way better than the other 8000Hz wired implementations I have tried. And like I said before, the clicks on this mouse are probably the best clicks I've ever tried on a mouse. I really like what Endgame Gear is doing with these enthusiast grade mice that are meant to be opened up and modded. So good job Endgame Gear, can't wait to see what the XM2W is going to look like.